Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to Post Cologne. Today I'm going to give you 10 cheap summer fragrances that I think you should know about. So let's jump into it. All right, so today we are talking affordable summer fragrances. These fragrances range in the price range about $15 to $35, and they're all designer fragrances. I know, shocking on Post Cologne. We're gonna talk about some designer fragrances for once, but there is a Middle Eastern video coming out for some summer fragrances very, very soon, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that one. So I got 10 fragrances for you, all summer-based fragrances, a nice variety of scent profiles for you, so let's quit screwing around. Let's get into it. All right, kicking things off, going to the house of Jimmy Choo, and it's Jimmy Choo Man Ice. You can scoop this bad boy up for 100 milliliters for in and around the $30 range. And if you're looking for a bright, invigorating, citrusy style of fragrance, Jimmy Choo Man Ice is going to get you there. Opens with a very tart, zesty style of bergamot and citron, along with a little bit of sweet mandarin that works in there. But what you really do is you get smacked in the nose with that citron. Very zesty, very cooling, invigorating, energizing style of citruses. In the mid, you get a little apple that works its way through, add some fruity sweetness to it. In the base, you get some nice vetiver, adding kind of a lemongrassy wood accord to it, a little bit of greenness to this, and some ambroxan along with some musk. The ambroxan adds a little bit of additional sweetness, a little bit of a sharpness to this, kind of accentuating those citrus notes, and it does give it a little bit more of a push. Performance on this, average for a citrusy style of fragrance, about 4 or 5 hours worth of longevity, and it does push off pretty good for the first hour and a half before it does settle back in. So you might want to pack this with you if you're going out for, longer than a few hours just to reapply it, and it's going to be a party every time you apply this one, because let me tell you, like I said, that citron just smacks you in the nose, and it's an absolutely gorgeous scent profile. Definitely worth checking out. That's Jimmy Choo Man Ice. All right, up next, going to the house of Franck Olivier, and it's Franck Olivier's Eau De Passion Intense. You can scoop this sucker up for $19 at various discounters. And this is just a beautiful, clean, aromatic, citrusy style of fragrance that has a unique kind of mix of some spices and some sort of green aromatics mixed in there. Opens with a really nice lemon, mint, bergamot style of opening. Very clean, citrusy, a little bit of geranium mixed in there, kind of accentuating that mint a little bit, giving it a bit of more of a kind of a clean feel. Has a bit of a soapy edge to it as well, but not like overly soapy, not like a barbershop style of fragrance, just a very clean, uplifting style of scent accord that works through. As this works to the dry down, you get a little bit more of that clove that comes through, adding this fresh, spicy accord that's very interesting, and it mixes with those aromatics, that clean sort of vibe, but just kind of gives it a little bit more character as that clove works through. In the base, you get a little bit of amber, a little bit of moss coming through, giving it a bit of a woody accord, a little bit of earthiness that comes through, but through and through, this is a very fresh, invigorating, clean, aromatic style of fragrance, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Very good quality on this. For the $19, you're definitely getting more than your money's worth with this. Performance on this, about 6 hours of longevity, and it does push off fairly good for the first hour and a half before it does settle back in. Bang for your buck. Franck Olivier always delivers, and this one is no exception. Definitely worth checking out. That's Franck Olivier's Eau De Passion Intense. All right, next up, going to the house of Salvatore Ferragamo with Uomo Urban Feel. You can scoop this sucker up for $30, $35 at various discounters, making this the more expensive cheapie on this list, but worth absolutely every penny. Very unique sort of blue style of fragrance, not what you're kind of typically expecting, that shower jelly blue sort of fragrance. This has its own sort of unique twist on it, opening with this bergamot, ozonic notes, clary sage, and that signature Uomo coffee. Has that tart, citrusy style of bergamot mixing with the aromatic green clary sage and those ozonic notes, adding a little bit of kind of fresh, sharp saltiness to it. Really interesting kind of mix of those sort of three scent accords, and you get that little touch of sweet roast coffee that kind of sits in behind, just adds that Ferragamo Uomo signature coffee note that's in there. Not a very forward gourmandy style of coffee, but it's there, just letting you know that this is a Uomo style of fragrance. As this opens up, you get a lot more of that ambroxan pushing through, giving it that blue, versatile sort of feel, but again, not this kind of blue shower jelly sort of feel. Still very fresh, very clean, but that aromatic clary sage that works in there with those citruses, that sharp ozonic notes, just makes this an absolutely gorgeous, versatile blue style of fragrance. As this gets towards the dry down, you get a little bit more of this driftwood and the cedar working through. Very light, airy style of woods, mixing with a little bit of earthy patchouli. And in the base, you get a little wisp of this labdanum and this incense that run through, just adding a little bit of boldness, a little bit of smoke that kind of infuses with those woods. Not a smoky style of fragrance, but just adds that kind of bold edge to this blue style of fragrance, making it very unique. Nothing mind-blowing, but a very unique style of blue fragrance that I absolutely love. Performance on this, about 5-6 hours of longevity, and it does push off pretty good for the first hour and a half, 2 hours before it does settle back in. Bang for your buck, this is great. I love all the Uomo fragrances in the Salvatore Ferragamo line, and Urban Feel is no exception. A blue fragrance, definitely worth checking out. That's Salvatore Ferragamo's Uomo Urban Feel. All right, up next, going to the house of Cerruti, and it's Cerruti Image. I can scoop this bad boy up for $23, $25 at various discounters. And this is just a beautiful aromatic green style of summer fragrance. And it's got a really unique atomizer on it as well. Opens with this really nice bitter green style of banana leaf, some fig leaf, mixed with some fruits like some plum that's mixed in there, a little bit of pear, and a nice dash of black pepper. So it's a very unique scent profile. It has that bitter greenness, almost kind of a watery feel to it, giving it that lightness, a little bit of airiness to it. This plum note that comes through adds some fruit sweetness to it, but not an overly fruity sweet. So this is not like an Invictus-y style of sweetness that comes through. Just kind of rounds out those green accords. Some nice cypress in there, adding to this kind of woody accord to it, a little bit of sharpness that comes through. Very green, very woody, but balanced off nicely with those fruit accords and a little bit of florals that mix into the mid. Awesome green style of fragrance. If you're into those kind of green aromatic style of fragrances for the summer that have that fresh, crisp sort of appeal to them, this is something you definitely want to check out. Bit of an older school fragrance. I think this came out in the late 90s or something like that. So it does have a bit of a dated sort of scent profile to it, but I'm a bit of a dated man myself, so I don't mind this one. I really enjoy this one. I think it's just kind of a great, easy to reach for green aromatic style of fragrance. And for 23, 25 bucks, I definitely think it's worth it. Performance on this is average, about 5-6 hours worth of longevity, and it does push off okay for the first hour, hour and a half before it does settle back in. So probably have to reapply this one if you really want to push or just go crazy on the sprays. But bang for your buck, I think this is an awesome fragrance and it's definitely worth checking out. That's Cerruti's Image. All right, next up, going to the House of Nautica, and it's Nautica Voyage Heritage. I can scoop this sucker up for $19 at discounters and probably find this for the same price point at every rack store on the planet. See this all the time, and this is honestly one of my favorite Nautica Voyage flankers. Has a very similar sort of DNA to the OG Nautica Voyage, but this is not an aquatic fragrance. This is more kind of an aromatic, clean, fresh fragrance, and I absolutely love this one in the summertime. Opens with a nice rosemary and mint combination. Has that aromatic nature to it, this fresh, spicy mint that comes through, adding this cooling nature to it. But the stars of the show is the mid notes that come through with that lavender and that ginger. Nice, clean, aromatic lavender. The ginger adds a little bit of sweetness, adds that citrusy accord to it, a little bit of fresh spiciness, and a little bit of kind of texture, a little effervescence, sort of fizziness that comes through with it. The two of those kind of dancing together just kind of balance each other off and kind of accentuate each other. Very crisp, clean, invigorating, fresh style of fragrance. As it gets to dry down, you get a little nice creamy sandalwood that works its way through and some Gaiac wood that has a little bit of a sweetness to it, but a nice woody base to this, giving a kind of a masculine foundation for this fresh, clean scent accord to sit on top of, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Again, nothing mind-blowing like the original OG Nautica Voyage. This is not a mind-blowing fragrance, but this is a great dumb reach fragrance that gives you that aromatic, sweet, citrusy, fresh, spicy sort of vibe going on to it, and for 19 bucks is absolutely worth it. Performance on this, 5-6 hours of longevity, does push off fairly good for an hour, hour and a half. Great gym fragrance, but this is great everyday casual wear fragrance in the summer. Perfect for the high heat. Definitely worth checking out. That's Nautica Voyage Heritage. Next up, no summer fragrance list would be complete without a Tommy Bahama, and it's Tommy Bahama's St. Bart's. You can scoop this bad boy up for $25 at discounters, and again, you can find this at places like Nordstrom Rack and other various rack stores around all the time for in and around that same price point. And this is honestly just summer in a bottle. Lime, tequila, C notes, a little bit of agave working in there, some guava. Just a beautiful poolside beach style of fragrance. Nice zesty lime that comes through, has that kind of tequila vibe, like a tequila shot in like a sparkling glass of water with like a lime wedge sitting on top of it, with a little bit of added sweetness from that guava, the agave that comes through. Just gives it a nice tropical, zesty style of vibe. Like I said, summer in a bottle. In the dry down, you get a little bit more musk, a little bit more vanilla that comes through, but through and through, this is a very just citrusy, green, aquatic style of fragrance that is absolutely beautiful. Just love this one. It does not feel like summer until I've worn Tommy Bahama St. Bart's at least a couple times. Performance on this is a little on the weak side, like most Tommy Bahamas, so about 4 hours of longevity, and the projection is moderate if I'm being generous for the first hour and a half or so before it does settle back in. So just throw this in your pool bag when you're heading to the beach, reapply this. You can go nuts on the sprays and no one's going to complain because you're just going to smell like summertime. Awesome, awesome fragrance. Definitely worth having in your collection for the summer. That's Tommy Bahama's St. Bart's. All right, next up, we're going to possibly one of my favorite summer cheapies, and that's Nikos Sculpture. Now you can pick this beauty up for $20 at various discounters, and if you can ignore the bottle, this is a little bit awkward to use. This is such a great summer fragrance. Very fresh, invigorating, sweet, citrus, white floral style of fragrance. Opens with this really nice orange blossom, lemon, bergamot, mandarin combo. Right level of citrus, has this nice white floral sweetness that works its way through, has that softness to it, mixing with that kind of citrus sharpness. Great contrast between those notes and just blend together absolutely perfectly. In the mid, you get a little bit of Lily of the Valley comes through, adds a touch of some watery green notes that work its way through, some geranium adding kind of a fresh aromatic touch to it, along with some jasmine, kind of accentuating that white floral accord. In the base, you get some really nice vanilla accords that come through, some tonka, amber, benzoin combos, and a little bit of light cedar that works its way through, just giving it kind of that masculine base to it. Through and through, this is like wearing a lemon meringue pie is the best way I can describe it. Right level of sweetness to it, has that kind of citrusy, refreshing sort of vibe going on to it. Absolutely perfect poolside, beachside, summer drinks on the patio sort of vibe going on to it. Delicious, sweet, refreshing, awesome style of fragrance. And for 20 bucks, this is absolutely worth checking out. Performance on this could be a little bit better. About 4 hours of longevity off of this, and it does project moderately for an hour and a half. So you can go absolutely buck wild on the sprays with this one. You're not going to offend anybody if you want to push that out a little bit longer. Or just if you can pack that along with you, it's a little awkward to put in your pocket, but bring it along with you, reapply it. No one's gonna be mad if you're smelling like a lemon meringue pie. Absolutely worth checking out. That's Nikos Sculpture. All right, next up, going to the House of Penguin with Penguin Premium Blend. Now you can pick this bad boy up for $25 at discounters, and you can find this all the time at rack stores. I see this at rack stores all the time for in and around that $25 price point. And this is just a really nice kind of aquatic citrus green style of fragrance. Opens with this really nice spicy style of mint, along with some lime peel and some bergamot. Very zesty style of lime, as well as that bergamot tartness, mixing with that spicy mint. So the spicy mint has more of a greenness to it than you're used to in a typical mint sort of note. So it doesn't have that kind of cooling nature to it. It has more kind of a green accord that works its way through. Very nice, still has that aromaticness, but it has this green herbaceousness that works in with that zesty tart citrus accord that's in there. In the mid, you get these nice aquatic notes to work through, adding some saltiness to it, some of that aquatic vibe, as well as a little bit of this violet leaf, which kind of adds a little bit of a floral touch to it, a little bit more greenness to it as well, just making this a really nice green, aquatic, citrusy style of opening. In the dry down, you get a little bit of a driftwood that comes through, adding that masculine base, giving it that beachy sort of vibe with that wood accord that works through. Through and through, this is a pretty linear fragrance from the opening to the dry down. You get a little bit of those aromatics, that fresh spiciness with those citrus aquatics sitting on some nice woods, and it's just a nice dumb reach aquatic freshy style of fragrance. Definitely worth checking out. Performance on this is so-so, about 5 hours of longevity, and it pushes off okay for the first hour and a half before it does settle back in. Bang for your buck, this is a nice style of fragrance. Like I said, very linear, nothing mind-blowing, but if you're looking for just a dumb reach, fresh aquatic style of fragrance, this is something you definitely want to pick up. That's Penguin Premium Blend. All right, next up, going to the House of Calvin Klein with Calvin Klein's Eternity Now. You can pick this bad boy up for $20, $25 at discounters, and again, you can find this at rack stores for in and around that same price point. That's where I'm pretty sure I grabbed this one, was from a rack store. Nice tropical summer fresh style of fragrance. If you're into sweeter style of summer fragrances, this one's definitely one you want to check out. Opens with this nice creamy milky style of coconut, mixing with a little bit of star anise, which gives it this kind of green licoricey sweet sort of vibe going on to it. A little bit of spice that's mixed in there, and this nice ginger. So this ginger adds, again, a little bit of fresh spiciness to it, a little pop of the citrus, and adds this kind of fizzy effervescence, mixing with that kind of milky coconut. It's a really interesting contrast between those notes in the top. But as this kind of opens up a little bit more, this star fruit that comes through is what takes over the show. Nice kind of tropical, fruity sort of vibe with that coconut note sitting on top, little punches of those fresh spices working its way through, and in the base you get a nice creamy vanilla that works its way through with a little bit of woods, just giving it a bit of a masculine foundation to this for those sweet accords to stand on. That tropical fruit, that watery, milky coconut, that creamy vanilla that works its way through. Really nice, sweet, tropical summer style of fragrance. Very sexy, flirty, has that kind of alluring sort of appeal to it. and it's absolutely fantastic. Performance on this, pretty good for a Calvin Klein. I don't get great performance out of most Calvin Kleins, but this one does fairly well, about 5-6 hours of longevity, and it does push out moderately for the first hour and a half before it does settle back in. If you're into sort of sweeter tropical style of fragrances for the summertime, I think this is one you want to get your nose on. That's Calvin Klein's Eternity Now. All right, last but certainly not least, going to the house of English Laundry with English Laundry's Riviera. You can scoop this bad boy up for $15 at various discounters, and I see this at rack stores all the time as well for in and around that price point. And this is probably one of my favorite English laundries, especially when it comes to the summertime. A really unique style of summer fragrance that just has a cornucopia of different scent profiles that work in there. Opens very woody citrus, has this lemon lime cedar combination that goes on. Quickly gets some really nice spices that work through there, some nice aromatics, lavender, geranium, some florals like ylang-ylang, some jasmine that's in there as well. And in the base you get a nice mix of some nice smooth, creamy styles of woods. Just a very bright, fresh, clean style of fragrance. Has these woody green accords, but it also has these soft floral accords. The ylang-ylang kind of stands out a little bit more than most of those other florals. But again, citrus, woods, green accords. It just has this kind of fresh, clean, almost soapy sort of vibe going on to it. And it's just overall a unique summer style of fragrance that I absolutely love. Performance on this for an English Laundry is pretty good. I get about 5-6 hours of longevity, and it does project off for about an hour and a half before it does settle back in. So not a monster performer, but for the English Laundry line, I find this one does fairly good, especially in that high heat. This one really gets activated in the heat. And like I said, clean, fresh, almost soapy, but not barbershop style of summer fragrance that just has a nice medley of those woods, citruses, aromatics, spices, and some of those florals that work through. Definitely worth checking out, and for 15 bucks, you can't go wrong. That's English Laundry's Riviera. All right, so there you have it. That's 10 affordable summer fragrances from designer houses that I think you should know about. And I want to hear from you guys. What are some of your favorite summer cheapies from designer brand houses? Comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. I love getting your different recommendations, your hidden gems, scent profiles. Appreciate you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see y'all next time.